I'm joined by Democratic strategist and former New York State Senator David Carlucci, host of Today with Dr. Wendy on KCBQ Radio, Wendy Patrick, and my special in-studio guest for the morning Republican strategist and fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, Nicole Kipralove. David, I'm going to you first. I think it's time that you Democrats, perhaps start with the rebrand and move on from Harris. We know even Joe Biden is coming back. Both he and Jill are going to be on The View next week. Is it time for a rebrand, or are you guys going to keep rehashing these same guys?
Well, look, I think often in these races, many people look and see, okay, you win by a few votes, you're a genius. You lose by a few votes, you're an idiot. And I think you can learn from both sides, from winning and losing. And so I don't think Democrats are ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Kamala Harris is obviously an important voice in the Democratic Party. I think most importantly, as we move forward towards the special elections, towards the midterms, and then on to 2028, that most importantly for Democrats is that we have to broaden our coalition. It's been too often now that we have Democrats say, you have to line up with me on every issue or you're not part of the party. We don't want you. And that can't continue. So I think Kamala Harris has a voice, and she needs to lend that voice to support Democrats all over the country. And she excites Democrats. She might not excite everyone in the country, but she plays a part. And I think Democrats embrace that.
I think you bring up a good point, but certainly I think there are a lot who are ready to move on beyond Kamala and Joe Biden. But Wendy, I want to go to you. Speaking of moving forward, we know President Trump just passed his first 100 days in office. Of all of his accomplishments that he's had, and there are many in my opinion, what stands out the most to you?
What stands out the most to me is his continual willingness to negotiate. This is what brought him from the boardroom to the Situation Room to begin with, is the sense of business savvy. And his reputation precedes him on that front. In other words, when he first announced these tariffs, people talked about, the uncertainty. Well, perhaps that what was certain is his willingness to come down from the ledge if, in fact, if they weren't workable. And that's one of the things that we've seen within the first 100 days. So there's continual long-term focus that does excite Republicans, because unlike some on the left who really don't have a focus, they're brand ambassadors for a product that the American people didn't want to buy in November, President Trump's willingness to continually think through whether or not this is going to achieve long-term economic stability. Now, you combine that, TW, with his closing the border effectively, given the number of crossings, more safe streets, less sanctuary cities, and really a responsiveness to the kitchen table issues of average Americans. I would say that all of that together, his willingness to continue to regroup and renegotiate, really characterizes his first 100 days thus far.
That's a good point. Now, Nicole, this would be considered by most people a stunning move by any elected official. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar offered this up to reporters just because he asked her a simple question. Listen.
Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Rodrigo Garcia?
I think you should off. Yeah,
that's I'm sorry, what, Congresswoman? Who should?
You.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, come on, Nicole, what do you think? This is a sitting member of Congress telling a member of the press to F off.
Look, we're getting confirmation every single day, more and more confirmation that these Democrats are unstable in different ways, whether it's Ilhan Omar cursing at a reporter, Jasmine Crockett talking about how what the Senator Van Hollen did is so incredible, she's glorifying that, or it's Gretchen Whitmer talking about public service on a podcast this past Thursday where she said that the reason why she's being seen with President Trump more is because she is putting public service over politics, which I find so incredibly hypocritical, considering that her or any of these other leaders have not supported a single policy of President Trump's to put the American people first. Gretchen Whitmer has vehemently opposed every single policy. Ilhan Omar has vehemently opposed every single policy to put their constituents first. It's very clear to me that none of these people know anything about public service.
Such a good point. But we know this, David, I'm going to turn to you now. We know 41, yes, I said correctly, 41 Democratic lawmakers in both the House and Senate have reintroduced legislation to bring back the assault weapons ban. Now, in my opinion, this is clearly a stunt that's going nowhere. Why in the world would Democrats be doing this and doing it right now?
Well, I think it's a very important issue. And in fact, a majority of Americans in public polling say that we should have stricter gun control measures. And I think this is a balance between supporting and upholding the Second Amendment, but having common sense gun safety legislation. And I think it's something that this shouldn't be Democratic or Republican. And I think too often on the right, it's this need to not do anything to strengthen our gun laws. And I think that's why this is an important issue. So I don't think it's a stunt. Look, you look at Ronald Reagan and his thoughts on this, and he said we should do something on gun control. And we did that in 1994. Unfortunately, that lapsed. But there's a lot of data to point that that was a safer time in the United States. And I think everybody can agree if we were able to balance the Second Amendment with common sense gun safety, that we'd have a safer country.
Wendy, I've got to get you in here on the Second Amendment issue. Is this the right message for Democrats, more gun control?
Well, I don't think that any single message is the right message in terms of something that is so divisive. I think what they're probably better able to do and what they should be doing is what do Americans care the most about? So we're talking about things like safe streets, safe schools, economic stability, not sanctuary cities, and not these types of gun control measures. I think the word control is emotionally triggering. I think there are regulations that both sides would agree should be put into practice, along with greater law enforcement, the presence, and so many of the other threat assessment and management techniques that we just hold dear in order to keep everybody safe. But it also has to do with safe communities, and therein lies the rub when it comes to the different politics.
Sure.
I think that
we all want safe communities, don't we?
Different ways of getting that done.
We want those safe communities. Nicole, I'm going to give you the last 10 seconds on this issue. Is this the right issue for Democrats? Do we need more gun control or not?
Absolutely not. There's actually a New York Times article that came out recently that said the last assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004 did absolutely nothing to protect our communities and our kids when it comes to some of these school shootings. This is not a gun issue. This is a mental health crisis.
Such a good point. David Carlucci, Wendy Patrick, and Nicole Kipperluff, thank you so much for being with us.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.